Sure.
All right, peace and blessings, everybody. Rob YB, Youngblood, president of sales of Self-Published in 30 Days, and we're back for another episode of YB's Collaboration Corner, where we talk to professionals of all industries about relationship building, connections, collaborations, and resources that will benefit you as the listener and as the viewer. I got a special guest, man. Shawn C. Williams. Yeah, this brother is phenomenal. He's kind-hearted. I'm gonna give him the opportunity to tell a little bit about what he does, but I got to tell you why I invited him on the podcast today. I had an opportunity to have a coaching session with my coach, Kendall Ficklin, and he was telling me he was coming up to the DC area to do a private coaching session with one of his clients. And I said, okay, cool, man, you coming up to DC, you know, Richmond is not too far from DC. Can I come through, right? You know, sometimes you got to ask your coach those questions. And he said, well, let me check to see, you know, we'll see how it rolls or whatever. Come to find out, my coach Kendall was doing a special training with Shawn. And Shawn found out that I wanted to come through, gave his blessing, and I came up. And then the rest was history. You know, Shawn showed us love. He was his heart, he, you know, put out his heart. You know, we met up, and I'm gonna let Shawn tell a little bit more about the event. But Shawn, welcome to YB's Collaboration Corner, man. How you doing?
Hey, YB, I'm doing well today, man. I really appreciate, first and foremost, the opportunity to speak with you and to provide any little bit of information that I have and to your network and your ecosystem, if we want to call it that, because you got more than a network. So you're giving me props, but I appreciate that. I'm doing great today, man. I woke up this morning. That's always a good start because I'm not trying to miss one of those days anytime soon. But it's great. I'm having a great day.
I love it, man. I love it. So Shawn, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in terms of your business.
Awesome. So who I am is like you mentioned, I'm Shawn Williams. First and foremost, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a son of a single mother. I say that because that's something that's, you know, that I'm very actually proud to say beforehand when I was growing up. I don't know if I was proud or not, but it was just something like, hey, where's your father? That kind of thing. So I always want to give a shout out to my mom. One of the other things that I say that I really like to do or enjoy doing is making connections and networking and relationship building. So that's what they say I do well. So I'm just YB embracing that piece. For the last almost 17 years, I've been in the mortgage space. More real estate finance, specifically on residential home loans. And in my career, I've helped a few thousand people, and whether directly or indirectly under my leadership, and overseen about $2.5 billion in mortgages and loans. So I don't know. They say I'm an expert at that too as well. But you know, who I am is what I mentioned earlier, and what I do is right now I'm the CEO and president owner of Fortis Mortgage.
I love it, man. And so, you know, I heard you tell that part of your story when I came up to DC for your event. One of the things I love about you already is that we have a very common background, right? Both of us came from single parent homes. You know, my father was actually murdered when I was 2. So, you know, having to come up single parent home, we have a way to collaborate from a personal perspective, right? We have something in common. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about when it comes to, because obviously if you've been in business that long, you've had opportunities to build relationships. What would you say is the key, one key to building a successful relationship?
I think value is most important. So one of the things that I've adopted that's super important, and I tell anybody about a relationship, is you have to add, as when it comes to business, even personal too as well. You add more value than you collect and pay, right? And so that could be monetary, but it could also be because we're always speaking in some sort of a currency. So there's also human currency as well, like those types of relationships. But as it relates to business, I feel like the relationship piece is always adding value. And then you plant those seeds and you keep putting it out there and you give as much as you possibly can with no expectations of getting anything in return. And so I think for me, that's been the way that, quote unquote, whatever you call success. is when I do things, I don't expect to get anything back. That's not why I'm doing it.
Mhm.
I realize that the universe in my life has always paid me back. And I tend to walk around with a little bit of survivor's remorse and sort of guilt. So I personally, YB, feel like that it's my obligation and my duty to give as much as I possibly can, because I tell you this too as well. I want to see people win massively, um, win massively. And I talk to even like some of the younger kids or folks that like maybe deal with at-risk youth and stuff. And the way I tell them and why that makes sense to me and why it's important. Because if I pour into somebody else, right, in a business aspect, that's one less person that I got to worry about giving money to, right? Right? Or propping up. But if I can, the phrase, what do they quote? They say you teach a man to fish, and they'll eat forever. Right. They'll live forever.
Yeah.
And so even like in an at-risk type of situation, I talked in the reason why I pour into kids and mentoring and such. That's one less person I got to worry about leading my kids down the wrong path. Right. Or someone else's kids. And to be able to maybe contribute to society in a better way. So to answer your question, value is where I think the relationship piece starts. I mean, there's more to it.
Yeah.
I got this thing called vibe that I break down, but it starts with value.
I love it. No, that's very important, man. And I love what you said. Give more in value than you receive in payment. And that's a nugget, right? And we may touch on that a little bit in this session, where that came from. But so let's talk about, how did you get started in the mortgage business? Obviously, you've got years of experience, but everybody has to have a starting point. Let's talk about how you got started, and then within that answer, was there someone who assisted you along the way to get into this industry?
Oh wow! Thanks for that softball question. That wasn't actually on your list of questions, and I think I can knock that one out of the box. I think so. I'm gonna start with a little bit of a cheesy story, right? So 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go cat go. That's Elvis, but like I like the Outcast version when they say that. But every time I tell that story, I think of my very best friend growing up, childhood friend. I've known the guy since we were 6 years old. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us.
Okay.
But when we were in elementary school, I don't exactly know the exact time frame. We were 10, 12 years old or something like that.
Right.
I have YB no idea why I like that song and why we were singing that song that day. So it was one day specifically that I remember we were on the playground, the two of us, and all we talked about was every time we were playing, we were singing the chorus of this particular Elvis Presley song or whatever, because it's Don't Step on My Blue Suede Shoes, right? And so while we were playing, we talked about like what our life would be like, as kids. When I grow up, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy that, or I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Our conversation was based around going to Harvard University. That was just college though, YB. At the time, we learned that Harvard University was quote unquote the most prestigious school to go to. So our goals and our sights were set on, that prestige, right? But it was really like, we're just going to go to college. This gentleman didn't look like me. He came from a different background as myself. But during that time frame, YB, there was, it was always in me. Number one, I wanted to make my mom proud because she raised me. That's what I knew. I always wanted to make her proud. My community, I wanted to make my community proud, because when I looked around, I didn't see much progress, like by way of folks getting professional careers and things of that nature, right? And then lastly, because I grew up in a situation where education was super important, not to say that my community didn't value education, but my mom really valued education, and she made sure that I was in these curriculums where I was getting a good education and I had a different type of exposure, right? And so being there and we talk about a seat at the table as an adult, having a seat at the table as a child. Typically, I'm the only one that looks like me in those classes, right? And so I realized at an early age that there were stereotypes around. right? And so I wanted to break down every stereotype imaginable. Like, I belong here. Like, it shouldn't be a difference of he's the kid that's in our class with us. It's just like, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I say all that to say, fast forward 2005, my grandmother passed away. YB, my grandmother was the rock, as many grandmothers are folks' families.
Right.
My grandma used to give me $5 a week to have lunch in high school, and just was a blessing to our particular family. So my good friend that I known since I was 6 years old, the guy that I was singing this Elvis Presley song with on the playground, right? He naturally is speaking with me in my time of mourning, because he's known me forever and he knows how close my grandmother is, and we're having a bunch of conversations. He had gotten into the mortgage industry about 2 years before, did amazingly well, and he was building a team. So it was just like, we're having more and more conversations, and he's like, look, Shawn, like, I know you're mourning right now, and you need some time, but listen, I got something for you. And he's like, I'm in this mortgage industry. I love it, man. I love it. I love it. When we were growing up, you always talked about this Martin Luther King stuff, and you were a fake Malcolm X. We'd have that kind of a conversation, because he could relate, but not really, right? I was coming from a different standpoint, and he was like, the things that you talked about growing up, this mortgage industry allows you the opportunity to give back to the community in the way that you want to give back. Right. So I'm like, what does it look like? Right now, I'm an insurance sales rep.
Right.
They pay me a base salary.
Mm-hmm.
I take folks out golfing. They reimburse me. We go to lunches, dinners. It's all done. They pay me a car allowance. Can you do any of that? It's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, what about this? Something else I threw out at him? No. And I was like, well, what can you do? And he's like, well, man, I'm going to lead you to the water, and you're going to drink. And he's like, you're going to think too. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to pay you reduced commission, and you'll make the most money you've ever made in your life.
Come on.
I was like, okay, I'm in. And so long story short, that's how I got into the mortgage industry. As a childhood friend of mine, got into the business, realized that this would be an opportunity for me to get into something that was my passion, and align with the words that I would say, and be able to have actions to put towards, creating generational wealth for people. Just giving, because I like to give. And oh, by the way, Shawn, people pay us to help them build wealth.
That's right.
And the one thing that really got me, once I got in YB, is my first loan. I got a thank you card. In all the sales that I've ever done, no one's ever thanked me for taking their money.
Wow.
And when I got the card, it was heartfelt. And I was like, this is it. I understand what this all means.
Right.
This is my calling. This is my way of really helping people.
Yeah.
But also making an impact, because obviously I got to take care of myself.
Right.
Because the more well off that I am, the better that I can do for everyone else.
Better you can do for somebody else. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, but I had help. So the second part of your question was, did someone help you? Yeah, my childhood friend really helped me and guided me through. He walked me through some doors that I would have never been able to probably get through. Not probably get through, but it was less friction.
Right.
Because of him. And I'm forever grateful to him and his family, for that relationship.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's going to be a ton of folks that's watching this that are either going to get into the mortgage industry, insurance industry. And so, one of the questions that I know, and you might not see it, what we listed, because I like the flow, is, in your time in this business, what was the biggest challenge you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
Being myself. So being myself, it was funny because I was sort of not teasing you, but I'm like, do I have to go put on my suit?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, man, this is me. This is my brand. This is what I present. And so YB, I promise you, the old Shawn would have ran upstairs. I'm in my home office right now. I would have ran upstairs and I would have insisted that I put my suit on. Just because I would want to fit in and be a part of what you were doing.
Right.
There's more, but I think the one thing that I have had the hardest time with looking back, if you want to call it a regret or not, is not 100% being as authentic and as free as I am now. YB, I've sat at some tables. I've just been blessed enough to be in some key leadership positions in my career. I've sat at some tables and I didn't agree with some things that were said, and I never spoke up. And that's one thing that haunts me. Like, you know, I'm going to get past it, but as a regret, just not feeling comfortable enough to articulate how I felt, and just being my true authentic self. I mean, obviously you want to be professional, right? Whatever that looks and feels like, but just sort of second guessing myself sometimes, and not sometimes being fluent in the language that's being spoken at the time. And so so that would really be the biggest obstacle that I've seen. For me, there are other obstacles like in regards to diversity and inclusion. We're still fighting to break down some of those barriers, but I think it's just really access and exposure. But I'm searching for something else, but that's it. Like YB, that's the thing that if I feel has been a challenge, it's just been me.
Yeah, I like that, man. And so one of the last questions that I have for you, Shawn, which I think you started to get to is, you know, when it comes to building these relationships, whether it's in your company, whether it's outside things, because you got some amazing things going on. And listen, I encourage each and every one of you to connect with Shawn on LinkedIn. Make sure that when you send him an invitation, you reference the YB's Collaboration Corner, so he knows that, you know, this is how you find out about him. But when it comes to working with someone new, right? Who do you want to work with? Who do you prefer to collaborate with when it comes to different projects that you're working on? And maybe even touch on a specific project if you have something that you're looking for somebody specifically.
For my business or client base?
Both.
Or both. So if it's a client, I go all in on families, right? All in. Another quick story. We're telling stories, right? So in 2016, my kids were 5, 6, I don't know, whatever. That my son's 13 now, so it was about 8 years old, right? And my wife and I had purchased a home together before we had children,
right?
And we raised our kids. Our kids were, you know, born and brought into our home at that time. But in 2016, we had the opportunity to move, and we got a chance to, you know, get a house built. And that experience was really amazing because we were able to bring our kids over. They would go and look at the foundation. You know, they would throw rocks in there, or they would, you know, play in the mounds and the dirt that the excavators and stuff had left there. And just to see the progression of how the house was being built, we would hear them talk about the color of the room that they wanted the room to be. We would hear them talk about where they're gonna have their room. We hear them talk about a basketball hoop in the backyard or the front yard or wherever it might be. And so for me, that really changed the dynamic of my career. And this was only about 5 years ago. So for me, not my company, we help everyone, but me personally, I run through walls for folks that have families with children, because I know what it feels like to be able to want to provide that for your child, right? And I know what it feels like to watch your kids grow up in a comfortable household, right? And so it's always funny, YB, when I talk to my clients and like I might hear a crying baby in the background, or something like that, and they're apologetic. I'm like, you know what? That ain't fair. You're fighting unfair, because I'm that guy. That's bittersweet sound to me.
No doubt.
Right? Because that gives me goosebumps, and I really, at this point now, I could care less about you, the adult. All I'm thinking about is how I can get this little baby in their new room.
I love it.
Right. And so to answer your question on that piece, like a client level, for me, I love the family piece. Our company, we'll help anybody that we can. We really want to see folks win,
Right.
and like I mentioned, in a major way. But our thing is to help you also understand what you're getting yourselves into.
Right.
And it's less about the qualification piece and more about the affordability
Yeah, I love
piece.
it. I love
Yeah,
it.
and as it relates to business opportunities,
Uh-huh.
I like creative thinkers. I'm okay with folks that are outside the box, right? I'll create guardrails
Yeah.
as best as I possibly can.
Mhm.
And YB, I don't care how fast you drive on the highway, as long as you stay within the guardrails.
Yeah.
You know, because if I could do everything, then I would be doing it.
Right.
So for me, creative thinkers are very important. I like also when I seek out like for employment and things like that, I
Yeah.
really like folks that have gone through some sort of adversity.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be negative adversity. It could just be like you went to college, you had 18 credit hours and a job, and that's not a negative thing. It's just
Yeah.
something that you went through,
Yeah.
because I know because you went through it, you can get through it.
That's
right.
right. That's right.
And I know when we're working together and our backs against the wall, that you're gonna have my back because you know what it feels like.
Right. I
And
love it.
yeah, and so that's I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. I told
No,
you a
so
bit much, but those are the things that I kind of look for in for my company relationships,
yeah.
like on client side, and then also like a business relationship. And then lastly, I need to be with people that actually care.
Right.
Like if it's for me, it can't be all about the money.
Right.
Like if that's how you are, it's okay. And if I understand that, that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's got to always be something with purpose.
Right.
Got to have some sort of a defined purpose behind it. If money's the purpose and you tell me that, and I'm down with it, cool. But there's also everything I do has to be purpose driven.
That's
so
right.
So that's all I got.
I love it, man. Well, listen, we wrapping up this episode of YB's Collaboration Corner. We've been talking to Shawn C. Williams, the founder, president, CEO of Fortis Mortgage. Listen, connect with this brother on LinkedIn. Make sure you tell him that you heard about him through YB's Collaboration Corner. And listen, we are part of Self-Publishing 30 Days, where we focus on empowering, inspiring, and impacting aspiring authors to put their book out, because this is the year for your new book. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Thanks, YB.
Hey, thank you.